everyone, and welcome to another clutch kit install video from iBackshift. It's been a long time since we've done a video for install. The last one was about 2013 for the XM chassis. And yeah, this is a 19 sled here, and the G4 chassis has been out for a couple of years now. And so finally, here we got a pretty cool sled, the barge from Lake Lamarge. Look at that. We're very excited to have the 175 here today, and we should get right at it. So Roger, if you could do a little less car, more sled in the video there. Roger's got to show off his car, right? I mean, look at this. Okay, so come on over, Roger, and we'll have a look at this to start taking it off. Obviously, we have to start to get at the clutches by taking the side panel off. So very grateful for our friend Mark from Do Talk, how he showed us to take that clutch guard off real easy. And normally I used to always pull by here, pull a cotter pin out and start trying to fish this off, and oh, what a dose. But real easy to do it. So Mark showed us how to just put our hand in here on the guard, and look how easy that came out.
So you don't want to huck it in the bush anymore?
Nope. Great, so now we have the clutches exposed, and what we'll do now is we'll switch here, and we're going to get Roger, because he's an expert at taking the cabs off, get him to take the cab off for us. Okay, so this is our mint buddy Roger. I snowmobile with him all the time, really good riding buddy, and he's our local skidoo mechanic and the owner of this really nice car with a couple thousand horsepower in it. So Roger, what can we start here to take the cab off with?
You start by using the T25.
What's the first thing that's going to come off?
Torques. Usually I like to get all the side panels off first.
Okay.
Get them out of the way. So then I take these two top screws out by your gauge cluster.
You know what size those are?
T25 Torx bit.
T25 Torx bit. Okay.
And you just put these in the glove box so you don't lose them.
I think the head of that is the same size as the Torx screw on the ramp for the primary clutch.
Yeah.
So what's going on here? This
so now you're going to pull this back a little bit.
This is the dash.
Yep. And you're going to push this down, or kind of a tricky one to get off. There we go.
There's a tab in there, right?
Yep. You see as soon as I pop this off, there's a tab. There's a plug here. You then push this side piece right here, a little button.
Right.
Then it'll pull out. Everything's brand new, so it's really tight.
Okay, what next? This is the glove box.
We're going to pull this glove box out. There's no screws holding this down. Again, got the tabs on every plug. You just push them down. They pull out nice. Sometimes you just got to wiggle them a bit. Don't go too much. And when you're pushing these back in, make sure they're bang on, because you don't want to be bending any of the pins on the lights or map sensors or anything like that. Put this up here so they're out of your way. Now you're going to take out 4 screws. There's going to be 2 on the front with washers. On the rears, they got no washers.
No washer.
No.
Washers.
Yeah, it's right here. Here.
Washers. Washer.
That is down right here. You see that clamp right here?
Okay, yes, see it. Yep.
So I'm pointing there.
Perfect.
Okay. The light.
This is the airbox.
Now, when you're done loosening this, you don't have to loosen it right off. You're going to push that back like this with your finger. And then pull that top off. Now reach back in here. Keep pushing that off. There we go. Now this thing will come right off, which is nice. Look at that. Look at the access to everything.
Mint.
Very nice. It doesn't have a can, so we've got to pull the exhaust out. So if you want, I can get these off, pull this exhaust out, and then from then on you can take over.
Okay, sure, yeah. Now we're getting to the exhaust, and pretty much you have to pull the shields off and remove the can to access the top porthole for the chain case.
Now, for those of you that got a can on the machine, you will not have to pull this off. You'll have lots of clearance to get to here.
Yes.
If you don't have a can and you got the original one on, you have to pull this off. You pull these clamps off. Heat shields out, put them in your pile.
Oh, little trick here.
Yep. Now they moved the O2 sensor on this.
Oh, this isn't the same as say an 18 or 17?
18s, they've put the O2 sensor in with here. and it's up higher. So the O2 sensor is now down here.
Oh,
Yes, I've actually moved quite a bit. Here's our O2 sensor right here, down in this corner here.
okay.
Okay.
What was that you did with your fingers there? That clip?
There's a clip, and you can just simply pull it away. It goes on the side of the chain case cover.
Okay.
You can plug that back in after easily, just slide it back up. Now if you don't have a spring puller like this,
Oh, it's a dose. Taking
Yeah.
the springs off.
you can use a coat hanger though. That's what I've done before too. I know it's hard to find those old metal coat hangers nowadays, but or even some haywire you can use.
Great. Want me to hold the brake? Bang.
Okay. Again, keep putting everything in the file, just kind of keep them neat and it's tidy and everything's off the side and not tripping over it. You then have number 10 mil socket. It's a bolt down here with a spring on it.
Hold on. Okay, get the trusty flashlight in there. Oh yeah, look at that.
See right down there?
Yeah.
Okay. Now it's not spring loaded to where when the bolt comes undone it's going to fly out and stuff like
Go
that.
down in the belly pan.
Yeah.
Don't lose it down there.
No, it's a bitch to get any parts out if they're underneath that motor. And it comes out very easily.
Yippee.
Again, there's your O2 sensor.
Oh yeah.
So again, you just push this when you're ready. We'll just push that back up.
Oh, mint. Wonder why they chose to put it there.
Not too sure on that yet.
Something about maybe the temperature that it reads. Oh, our engine mount.
Yes, that's the new updated mounts.
Okay.
Okay, back to you there, Joe.
Okay, all right. So now we're going to take the primary clutch off after we remove the belt. So these new G4 sleds, the 850, have to remember it's got a 12-point socket and you will need one of these to take it off, or a wrench. And we'll get right at taking the belt off.
Now before we take that off, everybody always asks about belt height and stuff like that. So when you're done, I'm just going to show them quick here. You can see where the top of the cogs are, and you can see the lower part where it's just flush with this. So that's all you're going to do is you're going to set your belt height up like that.
It started off like the rim of the secondary.
Yes.
Okie doke.
Just so for when after everybody's done, they want to put it back together.
All right. It's pretty soft. Soft springs. Not like the one we're going to put in here. Get her going in pretty good. Probably about a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch just to make it easy to get the belt off. Ooh, yeah. To access the bolt here, we have to pull a little clip off. So well, if you can, I can do it with my fingernail. Usually. Come on there, you little, oh yeah, there we go. Not so easy when it's cold out though.
No.
So we got the little flippity flap off, and you don't want to lose this down in anywhere. Make sure you put it right back in.
Put that in our parts pile.
Okay, and we can remove this too. Back in the guard so we don't lose it. Ah, fuck it.
Gonna need it anyway after.
Okay, our trusty Bombardier grunt tool.
Always make sure you get the kill switch in the off position as well as the tether cord. These things do start on just one little bit of a revolution. It's
Pretty easy,
so yeah, for it to,
especially when it's warm.
yes.
There we go. Oh yeah. Okay, I'm gonna say something about this washer. This washer here is a spring washer, and it's dished like that. What happens over time if you say do 5 or 6 clutch changes, or you take the bolt off, you retorque it 5 or 6 times over a certain amount of time, this washer goes flat. And then when you go to put it in and you tighten it up, just as you're starting to put torque on it and you're getting, say, about 40-50 pounds, you hear a big cracking noise, crack, crack, crack. And then you could torque more and then it'll crack. So what's happening is the washer is pretty much failed, and you can over tighten this bolt now, even with having it at 90 pounds, because it'll go to 90 pounds and then crack, and you actually went past, and you can strip the threads off this. And I've seen it done, and I've almost done it on my own sled. Thank God that I was able to get it all off, and then I had to run a tap through the crank and buy a new bolt and a new washer, and we're good to go again. But this washer here has a life of about 4 or 5 tops. I wouldn't mess around for a dollar washer.
No.
This is a special washer though. Buy the washer from Skidoo, using their part number on the microfiche, and only use that washer. And like, buy 5 of them. If you're gonna do tuning, buy 5. Like, there's nothing to it. 850 puller, 800 E-Tech puller, not the same. Don't use one of these in that clutch. Just make sure you use the 850 one, and then put just a wee dab of grease on the end of the puller like this. So when you stick it in the clutch, and this is from Roger's advice to him, being a Skidoo mechanic and working on them all the time, way more than me, that's for sure. With the grease in there, it'll stop the metal contact, and
No binding.
no binding. Yeah. So we'll get her going in here. Out of all the times I've done 850 clutches, I don't know how many I've had to do the water trick once, and it was on my own sled. That would not come off, and I was scared to break the puller because
You don't want to do that.
God, you don't want that to happen.
Well, I've had where you had the top on the end of that clutch puller bolt
But for
with
some,
the hammer.
yes. So for some reason, something's a little bit different than the 800 E-Tech. I've had pretty good success just using the puller. Whoa!
Oh, that one
yeah,
popped
that
up
was
beautifully.
easy. I did not expect that. I thought I was gonna have to put like another half turn on it before
Yes.
I grab the tool. So okay, that's fine.
Now when we go to pull this out, it's nice to take this bolt out right here, so you can pull that panel out to have a little bit more room.
Right.
That's a T25 as well. Okay.
Okay, we have the fastener out. Now it's easy to take this out. You can do it with it in there, but it's
Much easier to...
much easier to just take the 1 minute to do it this way. Well, it's been a week. There we go. Mint. Hey, look at that, it's not rusted. Okay, here we have some of the Skidoo tools. The crankshaft stub adapter to be able to mount the primary clutch. The spring compressor, or rather the sheave compressor, to be able to compress this down. It pushes the sheave down to get access to remove the ramps. And once the cushion, that's what this is called, once the cushion is off, then we can use this piston looking sort of thingy dingy to be able to compress the spring after to get at the circlip.
So do we need all these BRP tools to do this job?
No, not necessarily. I've gone to do clutch kit installs and forgot to bring some tools, or somebody borrowed tools off me, and then I've had to improvise, which say it's a good thing I had some ready rod in my toolbox and a nut to be able to use this washer to compress or hold whatever component on the clutch. So today we'll show you how to do some of this with just some parts laying around. Now some guys are pretty princesses about this, and oh, you gotta have the right tools, or you gotta have the bombardier tools, or this guy's tools, or that guy's tools. And no, if you have a little bit of ingenuity and just common sense and think about it for 2 or 3 minutes, you can take this clutch apart, no problem. Now first, we'll take the cushion off. Normally I have this tool, so I will use it to take the cushion off. Like I say, normally I have the tool to do this, the bombardier tool, and I'll use the grunt tool to remove the fasteners. But today we're going to barnyard it, as my dad says. And we'll take it apart with bare minimum tools, just a little bit of common sense and some patience, and we'll be able to do this no problem. So this is a, what is that, Rod?
T40?
T40.
Torque bit?
So this torque bit is also used on the secondary clutch too. I love this tool. This is a pretty good tool here.
I would say that that tool is pretty much a must though, that you would want to buy.
Yes.
If you're doing lots of clutching or even just to have. It's really good if you got the Gen 4.
Yes, and it's going to be around for years and years. So first off, we can brake. I'll just use my gut. Oh, that hurt. No, it didn't. There we go. Piece of cake. These fasteners are put on with 24 pounds torque, blue Loctite, medium Loctite after.
And you have to blue Loctite them.
Yeah. Just to, actually we have a stack, don't we, for this?
Yes, we do.
Alright. You got no problem with this,
Let her rip.
Roger?
No.
Mechanic Roger?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah. Just don't strip, right?
As long as you're pulling that trigger the right way.
Alright. Oh, we're gonna pause here for a second, little station identification. Oh, you're watching iBackshift channel. Cheers. Okay, now we're going to take the cushion off, and it has a taper. Underneath, you can't see it, obviously. We have to separate the cushion from the fixed sheave. We have to use the puller. We'll stick it in about 10 to 13
Turns.
spins there. And always use safety glasses. Nothing may come off of here, but something may come off of this, or vice versa.
Yes.
And
Not worth losing an eye over.
This is a heavy enough hammer, but oh, it might work because it says Blue Point. I've had my own clutch. I've had to go out in the street. I could not take it off with the hammer. So I had to go out on the street and hit it on the curb, bang, to be able to separate it. That's how.
Now some of them are, you got to hit them very, very hard. What you want to do though is don't be hitting this.
Yes.
Don't be dinging that because you'll throw it out of balance.
This is the scary part. I really don't like
You
this.
just swing that thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
Woohoo!
came
Just
off
like
nice.
downtown. Okay.
And I mean, it's not like when you put the clutch kit in, the only thing you'll be changing realistically, right?
Yeah.
Because if you're going to change out your weights, that would be it, which is very simple to do anyway.
Oh, you know what we forgot to do is mark the clutch. Not that you have to, but just for simplicity's sake, and I could put some felt pen on it because this is pretty much where it was. The timing.
Yes, it's right there with that circle. So
We're gonna mark the clutch. There's an arrow, our little etched circle, and there's our little notch back there. So we'll just, here we go, and we know it's all lined up now.
now this cup only goes on one way anyway, as you can see the bolts.
Yes, but when this is assembled and you go to put it on the engine, this whole thing, like this, can still turn.
Yeah.
Right? So it can still go out of phase, but we'll get to that later. Now that we have the clutch marked, we can start to remove the primary clutch spring. And being in the spirit of our barnyarding this, you could do this with some ready rod and a nut welded on. So let's make it work there, Captain. Nice soft surface for the clutch.
That's fun doing this backyarding thing once in a while without the tools that you need and just making your own.
There's a clip here. We're going to compress the spring cover down about 1/8 of an inch just to get in here. And
Pop that
people
rubber
use a
retainer out.
bullnose. Yeah, people use bullnose pliers, but I'm just going to use a screwdriver and show you how easy it is to do. This is the Skidoo spring compressor, and see the shape of it? So one day, not too long ago, I forgot this, and I was doing a clutch kit. So I'm looking around in the guy's shop to see if he had anything, and lo and behold, he had an old Sea-Doo piston. Hey, Jeff, can we take this piston and use it? I mean, that thing kind of fits on there, right? Yeah. I wish I had the piston here. I forgot to bring it. What we did was went in here with the hacksaw and just cut it a bunch of times and knocked it out. Knocked the boss out here too, so there was a slot and it would clear. And I used this that piston to compress that down because it was all notched here. What I'm getting at is, yes, have the correct tools, but if you don't, not all is lost, right? And sometimes that's the way it goes. And if you're a princess about it, well then,
spend the money, buy the tools.
Too bad. I don't care. I just don't care. Just whatever you got to do to get it done, do it properly. Just common sense and time. Take your time, and you'll be able to.
That's fun making the tools sometimes too.
Yeah.
Do the job.
Okay, this is our old Royal Distributing for an MXZ. That's what this is from. Well, maybe it's not. Maybe it's for a 2008. I think that this here is for a 2008 XP QRS ready threaded rod to remove the helix. All right, so we got it tight. And all we had to do is,
And you can see it's already pushing down.
look at that. So we got about 1/8 of an inch. Now, maybe Roger, if you could come on this side here for a second. What I'm gonna do is, I'm just gonna hold my finger on this here. Hold pressure on that,
On the back side of that
on the
clip.
back side of the clip here. Come around to the front. The reason why I'm doing that is it'll make it easier for this to come off. Look at this. Like nothing. Ding.
Beautiful.
Thank you very much. Drive through, come again. Oh, this might be too short. Doing.
Got their spring cup, spring.
There's our fancy spring cover. Right, we'll set this aside here. And there's our stock primary clutch spring. And we're gonna get the clutch kit parts here now. We have the iBackshift clutch kit. Yeah. And this is what you're gonna get from me with the G4 clutch kit, say. Primary clutch spring, secondary clutch spring, some instructions on the install. The setting sheet is inside here. Our helix made by Dalton, and our pivot pin kit. Okay, now that we have the spring out, the next thing we're going to do is remove the ramps, the skidoo ramps. This is the skidoo tool. This is my tool. Yeah, I used to use this, but I thought, holy cow, that thing is like $30 some, and this was not 30 bucks, much cheaper. But we need the Torx bit. Remember what we used on the cowling to whatever Torx.
T25.
T25, thanks. These are only on here a couple of foot-pounds, and I'm just going to use a speed wrench to take them off, crack them. 1, 2, 3. I already did this one.
Now, do we want to crack the other one right in front of it before we remove those?
Which one? What do you mean?
The
bolt?
Yeah, do you want to loosen those off before we take everything out?
Yeah, we could do that for
Make
sure.
it a bit easier,
Yep.
then you can have it all loose and just change everything right there on the bench. Now that tool right there is what you used. Take the belt off for the secondary.
Oh, that.
Go on.
On the 2017, this is an Allen head. On the 18 and 19, this is the same Torx as this and as your hood
Bolts.
bolts. Thank you. There you go. Ah, sweetness. Easier to take them out, yeah, in the clutch than it is out of the clutch. All right, let's go back to here. Yes, this is the skidoo tool. I just want to put it in here this far to show you what it looks like. This is about a 4-inch long, same thread of bolt. I can't, M5, I think. And this is what I normally use. Now, I have been stuck before, and to get these pins out, I've used this over again to drive it out. So I'm gonna, I know some people ain't gonna like this, but I don't care.
So a couple of turns in.
Yeah. Well, actually more thread in the better, and back it out just a couple, but you're taking a chance at
Damaging the end of the bolt.
yeah, I'm taking the head and like denting it, so you're gonna end up holding it
Using
like
your
this.
socket.
If you have an extra set of hands, regardless, even using either tool to hit this out. If you're not using this in the vise and you're just doing it on the table, I like using the grunt tool to hold the clutch so when you tap it that it stays straight here and won't move around. I'm not tapping it very hard at all. Couple more turns. Oops. And in a second here, this is going to pop out.
So what you're doing is just showing people in a jam, right?
Yeah, if you're stuck in a jam. I think it's, there we go, look at that. Take this off, thank you. Look at that.
And again,
Ta-da! Didn't bend it, didn't damage it. Had to do it one time. Too bad, that's what I had to do. The end. Okay, we'll do this next one here. Okay, here we go.
now that's your, what, $3 bolt, $2 bolt?
Yeah, $1, something like that. I can actually escape. Barely tapped, with just almost nothing to it, right? Don't damage the threads. Put them together so you don't lose the pieces. 2, and then 3. Okay, for all the die-hard guys, tools, 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 Skidoo tools. Here we go. We'll use the Skidoo tool. So in the kit we have a setting sheet here that talks about the install and some of the torque. I got some rules to go by here. I talk about the weight kit that's in the package, right? All the grams. Some tips about engine speed to change the engine speed either by the clickers or by adjusting the grams of the pivot bolt. And then there's the setting sheet. So since this guy, he's going to be riding at around 1,000 feet. He's got the low elevation 990 ramp, 1,000 feet. So he'll run 24.3 gram. That's the 35 millimeter pivot bolt, the steel 7 millimeter spacer, steel 3 mil, steel 2 mil spacer. It's going to give him a total ramp weight of 97.5 grams. Just do one at a time. Spacers. Ooh, our Popeye arms. Titanium lightweight bolts. I will just leave them in there. And the supplied Allen wrench. First thing we're going to do is remove the Skidoo pivot bolt and its spacer, if it has one, depending what year. And then we're going to take the aluminum arm off, and we have a set of Popeye's arms. That's what somebody said. Hey, that looks like Popeye's arm, forearm. You should call it Popeye's arm. Okay, why? Because it's strung to the finish. So this is what you're removing. This is what we're going to put in. Notice how it's got this shape here. It's to clear the ramp profile. Say a 951. This ramp here at 990 has a thin profile here, but the 951, it's about half again more thick. When you rotate the clicker up and down, what it does, it takes up the gap, makes it tight. Clicker 5, clicker 1, clicker 5, clicker 1.
Now on the older ones, you'd adjust it for your clickers, and that would change your top RPM. Now these clickers don't do that, am I right?
Yes, they do, yes. What we found is when you did not have enough pivot weight and the engine over revved 8,000, 8,100, if you went to clicker 1 or 5, you still would over rev, and down in clicker 1, the engine would speed up quicker. So it'd flash to 8,400 and then pull down to still in the over rev 8,100, 8,200. You need the pivot weight amount in to get the engine to run 7,900 to 8,000 RPM. In whatever clicker you're going to run, you need the pivot weight to get the engine to pull that full throttle, 7,950 RPM say, and then the clickers start to respond to the way the traditional TRA clicker does. One clicker, approximately or estimated 200 RPM. 25 mil, 30, 35, 40, 45 mil bolts. 1,000 foot here, 35 mil bolt, 7 mil spacer. So we have the 2, 3 mil, 4, and 7 mil. One 7 mil spacer, one 3 mil, one 2 millimeter, and then we'll apply it to the ramp.
And what clicker position do you have the ramp in when you do all this?
1, 2, 3's got the notch in it. Doesn't say 3, but that is 3.
Okay, and that's one down.
One down. We'll leave it loose, and more to go. This guy here is going to end up going to Cook City. He's here at 1,000 feet, and he's going to end up going to 9,000 feet, not 8 to 10,000 feet. So what he's going to do is just simply change to the titanium 35 millimeter bolt and apply the appropriate spacer to get him his 14.3 grams. Here we are at 24.3 thousand feet. He's going to Cook City. He's just going to reduce it with the, like, these things weigh nothing, but they're like a grade 5. They're pretty strong. It'll be this weight for 9,000 feet. He's good to go. If it takes you more than 5 minutes to change the pivot bolt weight, it's because you're talking too much. Oh, I'll say something about these spacers. You're out in the field and you have to change engine speed, say with the spacer, they're going to be warm. You do not want to drop these in the snow because that's it, it's gone. So whatever you do, try and be careful to make sure you don't lose a spacer in the snow. With the applied wrench here now, Allen wrench, you'll be able to later on tighten the fastener.
And don't crank it.
No, we'll show which side to use later. It's actually this side here. Never use this one, but we'll explain that later. Now we'll stick the ramp axle back in. I don't have a torque wrench for this. Should we put blue Loctite on that?
You can pull it in, pull that through first, so where it's going to be positioned in its original position. Yeah,
Okay.
put a bit of blue Loctite on it.
After. Oh, yeah. Good plan there, Stan. So I can feel it going in. It's drawing in here more. Oh, there it stopped. Okay, now it's in. We'll remove the fastener and we'll get a dab of blue Loctite on it. Good enough.
And you just do the same throughout the rest of the
2 and 3.
yeah.
Yeah, we're a little tight there. Alright. About the same as what I took it off. Don't strip it.
No.
Okay. All the axle bolts here tightened down. 1, 2, 3. Okay, we'll put her in.
Is there any plastic washers on the inside of that? Anybody got to make sure that? Okay, so it's just a cup.
Yeah, it's shaped.
Perfect.
So when the spring compresses, this flattens out and it fills
Ride
that
right in there, yeah.
whole trough. Put this back on. And then get this on here. I know it was a little tight, but that's all right. Look at my box. Look at my high heels.
So,
There we go.
if you're only 4 feet tall or so, you're going to need one of these.
Now, when we start to compress it down,
You want to make sure it goes on straight and even.
yes. Maybe you could come over this side, Roger. So with one of my videos, I think it was for the 2009 XP, this guy in the comments goes, I'm using the crescent wrench. I didn't have this, I had just a nut and the ready rod and the washer. And I was using a crescent wrench to compress down. So this guy goes, you know, you're using the crescent wrench. I wouldn't let you in my yard with a crescent wrench. So, okay, some people are princesses, and it was like he was almost offended that I was using a crescent wrench instead of a snap-on or blue point or whatever. Just, what's wrong with a crescent wrench? So, that's what I'm going to use again. Doctor.
Doctor?
Thank you, Doctor.
Now, is that a big enough crescent wrench, or should we have used a bigger one?
Well, we could use a pipe wrench too, but just thought I'd do this for the guy who was complaining about me using a crescent wrench. I feel like I'm on a merry-go-round. So, what if this was the only crescent wrench that you had? Oh, it hit me in the neck. Hey, watch it don't hit you in the neck. All right.
If you're getting down there, you might be knocking some stuff off the shelf.
Okay, Roger, come on over here and have a look at this. Thank you, Doctor. Really easy to get this back on. And you may think it's easier to put the install in from this side here. Yes, I know there's a flat notch here. And you know what? We're going to do it without the notch on purpose. And we're going to go from the back side because it's easier to put it on this way here. Very easy to do. You can start it with one finger and you're going to hold it down. My thumb, okay. Come on this side, Raj. I'm only holding one side down with my thumb. This side's not being held down. Watch how easy this is. This is why I say use the wide side here.
Oh,
there,
nice.
it's on.
Very nice.
Look at that. It doesn't really matter yet if this is here or there, or if the timing marks are lined up, because the top end here, the sliding sheath's still going to be loose when we put it on the engine. Now we'll put the cushion on. Make sure there's no material in there, foreign material. Blue Loctite. Just a little dab. And must use a torque wrench. Absolutely a must. If you feel better about indexing the clutch, do it anyway right now, I guess. And the little etched circle has to line up with the V-notch. The V-notch is on the newer clutches. The older ones have a little divot in the back. Oh, 23 foot-pounds. And that's out of the shop manual. You need to use a torque wrench. Even if it's a cheap one, it doesn't matter. Still, just be consistent with a torque wrench and use one. Don't go by hand because the fasteners will come out.
Some mighty fine torquing skills.
You taught me. Wait till it goes green, Joe. All right.
So essentially here the primary clutch is now done.
Yes.
Other than putting it back on the unit here.
All right, 850's got that timing notch. Cut the crank, which we'll have to eventually line up on this. Okay.
And you'll feel it as soon as it lines up. We'll just click right in and push on that extra. It's about a ½ inch, Joe.
Oh, there we go. Yay! So once you have it on, though, remember to make sure that it was phased correctly, and don't, without the clutch bolt, if you turn it by the outside, the sliding sheave here, high probability that this is going to slot, the engine won't turn, and you'll turn this, and then you'll have a problem lining it back together again. So let's see here. There's the felt pen mark. Where is the felt pen mark? Oh no, there we go, right there. So now I have the divot. That's how we took it off, and everything's lined up.
Okay, yeah, I see it there.
Now that we have the primary clutch on and the bolt on, we'll torque it down before we start messing with anything to give the final tighten on the pivot bolts.
And what's her torque spec?
89 foot-pounds. So we'll turn the engine a bit there first. And up there we go. Make sure it's still. Want to come look at this here? It slipped a bit. So look, I can turn right. So it looks about straight there. A little bit more. Yeah, now I'm bang on straight in line. 89 pounds. Everything looks straight. Oh, there we go. Mint. Now we can go about tightening the pivot bolts here. And I suggest use the short end.
So you don't over tighten.
Yeah, here's what happens is the clutch gets hot and the aluminum grabs onto the steel bolt really tight. So now if in the future you have to change the pivot weight, well, you're going to be using a lot of force to overcome to undo the bolt. So that's 1, 2, that's about as tight as I put them. Because as soon as the clutch gets warm, it tightens up and they're pretty hard to get off. 3, that's tight. And they're all on clicker 3.
Primary clutch, as of right now, everything's done.
Now we can do the secondary clutch.
Perfect.